41-34, the final score. Tennessee falls to Pitt in the Johnny Majors Classic here on Saturday evening at Neyland Stadium. I'm Cain alongside Austin Price and Ben McKee. And guys, it was a game that you couldn't have envisioned a better start for Tennessee, going out there getting a negative play on defense the first play, blocking a punt, scoring the next play after that. Tennessee jumps out to a 10-0 lead, and then the inconsistencies, Austin, rear their ugly head, and Pittsburgh comes back and makes it a ball game.
Yeah, I mean, the second quarter, Hubs and I talked about this on the 2-minute drill. I mean, the second quarter, back-to-back weeks, has just, killed all the momentum Tennessee's had. I mean, you look at, kind of where, they were in the football game at the time against Bowling Green. You look at where they were in the football game today against Pitt, and, it just, last week Bowling Green wasn't very good, so they couldn't really take advantage, but Pittsburgh was good enough today. 27 second quarter points. 5 scoring drives. They kicked 2 field goals, scored 3 touchdowns. I mean, they did pretty much whatever they wanted to, man.
Yeah, just a really bad afternoon for Tennessee. The second quarter pretty much encapsulated how the rest of the game was going to go. Eric's spot on with drawing up the most perfect spot or perfect start to a game that you could ever ask for. And then from there on, it was just self-inflicted wound after self-inflicted wound. And the bottom line is when you turn it over 3 times and you commit 13 penalties and you set a program record for penalty yardage in a game, you're not going to win that game, especially when you have a veteran quarterback who is playing really well on the other side. You're just not going to win that game. I do think there's something to be said about those miscues and stats and only losing by a touchdown.
Yep.
And that's a different conversation for a different day later in the week after we hash out everything that went wrong. But at the end of the day, you can't turn it over 3 times and commit 13 penalties.
Let's not bury the lead here, gentlemen. I mean, you had a quarterback, Joe Milton, who again misfired. We'll have to go back and watch the tape, but 3 or 4 times where he could have had big chunk plays or maybe even touchdowns. He goes out of the ball game injured, could not return. Hendon Hooker comes in, slow start, did have 2 turnovers, but he put Tennessee in a position to win this football game. Josh Heupel asked post-game, will there be consideration of maybe mixing up the quarterbacks? He said each position will be evaluated, the quarterback included. So, Austin, I'll start with you. If you're Josh Heupel, how do you go about that position specifically here this week in practice?
It's Groundhog Day, man. We're still stuck in, kind of this limbo where Tennessee doesn't really have a guy. I mean, yeah, Hendon Hooker with his play today, probably earned a chance to start next week against Tennessee Tech. I mean, he did have the 2 turnovers, you're right, but I mean, heck, I mean, even with all the miscues, all the overthrows, a good chunk of the players out, Tennessee had the ball with under 5 minutes to go, driving. I mean, that's the part about the game where you just kind of like if you're Tennessee, you're sitting there like, man, like it's the old Dennis Green line. I mean, we let them off the hook. I mean, Tennessee let Pitt off the hook today with a number of different miscues. But at the quarterback spot, yeah, I think you go with Hendon Hooker next week. I thought he only got better the more he played. Yeah, the linebacker made a nice play, on the pick. Other than that, I mean, I blame I don't blame Hendon Hooker for the fumble. But yeah, you got to protect the ball, but they kept rolling him, against the grain and just. I don't know. Like it just doesn't seem like that fits his game to be rolling left, and I don't know. For me, I think Hendon Hooker should start next week, and then we'll go, kind of go from there.
I'm with you. Hendon definitely looked better than Joe, just to be blunt about it.
And Joe had all the opportunity in the world.
Yes, yes.
I mean,
and what's
how many times did they have people running free? And that's what Heupel talked about. But I mean, that's what every person that watched this game, Tennessee fan, Pitt fan, whoever. They saw that the first quarter, Tennessee had numerous receivers running free.
Yep. I mean, that's all the first quarter consisted of. And what's crazy is you see the very first deep ball of the day, Joe Milton delivers an absolute beauty to Jalen Hyatt.
Yep.
Right on the money, an absolute beauty of a throw. And I imagine y'all are feeling the same way when you see that, as I was, like, okay, well, maybe Joe's turned the page. Maybe the deep ball isn't going to be an issue, like Cedric Tillman stated earlier in the week when he met with the media. And then all of a sudden, I mean, you have Jacob Warren running down the seam as wide open gets. And, I mean, Joe doesn't even come close to throwing him the football. I mean, I've never seen a quarterback miss a guy that badly, truly. I don't think I'm exaggerating. I don't think I've ever seen a guy miss somebody that wide open that badly.
I did. I watched it 2 years ago in the Swamp when JG missed Dominic Wood, your boy, Dominic Wood Anderson. And then the next play threw a dime
and he got drilled,
to Juwan.
On like third and 19 for a first down.
But same thing happened here. He threw that out with the tight window
that
over
very
there
next
to
drive.
Jacob Warren.
Yep, that very next drive that you're talking about, Milton made 2 laser throws for a first down on
You're
third
not
down.
going to hit every deep ball like that. Everybody, you're going to overthrow something. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Harrison Bailey. It doesn't matter if it's Hendon Hooker. It doesn't matter if it's Joe Milton. You're not going to connect on every deep ball.
No, but
but he connected on 0 of them through 2 games,
Yep.
except for the 50-50 ball, which was just more of a go get it type catch.
Yeah, and just last thing on Hendon, and then Eric, you hop in here obviously, but I mean he connected on the Jalen and the one to Jalen in the end zone, and I just kind of feel bad for Joe and Jalen in that situation because I think Jalen smacking his head on the turf as hard as he did is kind of what caused that incompletion. But you just can't come back, and I mean I can't wait to tally it up when I go back and watch the film. I mean I imagine it was 5 or 6 just complete overthrows, and you didn't get that from Hendon. Hendon looked calm, cool, collected, and I was joking with Austin throughout the second half, like he kind of looks like Dobbs running around. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm willing to say it because I see a little bit of that. Is he Josh Dobbs?
Similar.
Yes, and that's what it is, and kind of the way he contorts himself to avoid a big hit, and it kind of was. It looked like Pitt was kind of having a hard time just getting a hold of him. So I'm not saying that Hendon's Josh Dobbs, but the running style kind of reminded me of him, and just when you factor in the accuracy and the ability to run around, I definitely think Hendon should start next weekend against Tennessee Tech.
Yeah, last thing really, we'll get out the door on this one. I mean, I think the thing, if you're a Tennessee fan, when you're sitting here on this Saturday, evening into night, and you're frustrated about this game, well, Tennessee had over 130 yards in penalties. Tennessee turned the football over 3 times. Tennessee did this, did that, but also your starting center did not play. Cooper May's out. Tyon Evans, who went off last week, did not play. Byron Young, still deemed ineligible, did not play. Jabari Small did not play at all in the second half. Jalen Hyatt, arguably your best wide receiver, did not play first quarter on. Tennessee was shorthanded. Tennessee was, shooting itself in the foot all game long, but still had a chance to win this football game in the end. And so, is there something to draw from that, Austin Price, moving forward?
Sure there is. We've watched this program, and I get them. People on the board, they're going to have the gnashing of teeth and be upset. I get it. I mean, I'm tired of watching losses too. I mean, I'm no different than anybody on the general's quarters. But at the same time, I watched them lose by 30 a lot the last couple of years. They either won the game or lost by 4 touchdowns. So, you lose by 7 and you have a billion mistakes to a comparable Power 5 team.
Yeah.
Then, I think there's a lot to be, kind of feel decent about coming out of this game while also still being upset you lost.
Yeah, and I thought Heupel summarized it best post game, and I'm sure people are going to criticize his coaching cliches because that's what a fan base does when a coach loses a game. I get it, but I did think he summed it up perfectly in saying that most of the mistakes, I would say just off the top of my head, before going back and watching the game, 70-80% of the mistakes were all self-inflicted wounds, and they're correctable mistakes. Right now, it doesn't feel like Joe Milton's deep ball is correctable, but Jeremy Banks, his personal penalty, that feels correctable. Although Jeremy does have a long history of
history in that.
Yeah,
but
so maybe
as far as his play on the field, it's getting better.
Correct, but you get my point. Is like you can control those penalties, and you can control having 1st and goal from the 5 and ending up with 4th and 31 that results in a field goal.
Yeah.
You can correct those things. So I do think that is the positive to take away. It's just Josh Heupel's second game, his first true football game at Tennessee against a formidable opponent, and 70-80% of the mistakes that were made that cost Tennessee the game, like we talked about earlier, you can correct them.
Well, plenty of more game coverage following Tennessee's 41-34 loss to Pittsburgh tonight, this evening, on throughout Sunday. Brent will have his column out tomorrow. We'll have tons of stuff coming up on VolQuest.com. Plus, We will have some recruiting notes, some of the unofficial visitors on campus. Who were they? What do they think? All that and more coming up over the next couple of days. And then, of course, the Monday night chat following Josh Heupel and his appearance on Monday. Tennessee Tech Week is next for Austin Price.
Can't wait. I can't wait to sit through that next week. Everybody want to know where I'm at on this whole thing? I can't wait to sit through 50,000 people here for Tennessee Tech.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's 7 days away. He's Austin Price. That has been McKee. I'm Eric Cain for the final time in the Neyland Stadium here on September the 11th, 2021. It's Pittsburgh 41, Tennessee 34.